I am going to assume that you, like me, believe that waiting in a TSA security line is a violation of your human rights. You've done the math, and you've realized that flying commercial is basically a social experiment designed to see how much humiliation a human being can endure for a tiny bag of pretzels. So naturally, the only logical financial decision is to buy a pressurized metal tube that costs more than the GDP of a small island nation. Today, I am going to attempt the impossible. I am going to mathematically justify, with a straight face, how you can afford a private jet. And I'm not talking about renting a seat on a sketchy charter. I'm talking about ownership. We are going to climb the ladder of aviation bankruptcy from the entry-level jets that cost less than a Manhattan apartment all the way up to the flying palaces that require their own zip code. And I'm going to show you the exact financing terms, the down payments, and the one tax loophole that the IRS effectively wrote just for people who hate airports. Let's start with the gateway drug. But before we go any farther, remember to hit that subscribe button. Okay, so you want a jet, but you don't want to be on a breathless first-name basis with a bankruptcy attorney. You're looking at the Cirrus Vision Jet. It's the single-engine moped of the jet world. It's cute, it has a parachute in case you forget how to fly, and it only costs about $3 million brand new. Now, $3 million sounds like a lot, but let's use jet math. Banks that specialize in aviation finance are not like the bank that holds your mortgage. They understand that this is an asset. Typically, they want 20% down. So you need to write a check for $600,000. If you don't have $600,000 in liquid cash, stop watching this video and go back to work. But if you do, you finance the remaining $2.4 million. In late 2025, let's say you have good credit and get a rate of 7% over a 20-year term. Your monthly mortgage payment on the jet is roughly $18,600. That's it. For the price of a very bad divorce settlement, you own a jet. But wait, we haven't talked about the burn. In aviation, we don't talk about miles per gallon. We talk about dollars per hour. The Vision Jet is efficient. It burns about 60 gallons of Jet A fuel an hour. With maintenance, insurance, and hangar fees, your variable cost is roughly $1,000 per flight hour. So if you fly 150 hours a year, your total annual operating cost, including the loan, is roughly $375,000. But wait, I hear you screaming, that's a terrible financial decision. Is it? Enter Section 179 of the U.S. Tax Code. This is the magic wand. If you use this plane for business more than 50% of the time, the government allows you to accelerate the depreciation. In many years, this means you can write off huge chunks of the purchase price against your active income in the first year. If you are in a high tax bracket, that write-off could save you $1 million in taxes. Suddenly, the jet was free for the first 3 years. That is girl math for tax accountants, and it is beautiful. But maybe you have friends. The Vision Jet is small. You need a bathroom that isn't just a curtain behind the pilot's head. You're ready for the mid-size market. Let's talk about the Cessna Citation CJ4. This is a real business jet. It goes 45,000 feet, flies fast, and looks serious on the ramp. It costs about $11 million. Here is where the math gets violent. Your 20% down payment is now $2.2 million. Your monthly loan payment is roughly $70,000. But the real killer is the care and feeding. A jet like this doesn't fit in a normal garage. You need a heated hangar. That's $3,000 a month. You need 2 pilots because insurance won't let you fly this alone. That's $300,000 a year in salaries, plus benefits, plus their hotels when you travel. And the maintenance? A C-check inspection on a jet like this can cost as much as a Ferrari. Your hourly variable cost jumps to about $3,500. If you fly that same 150 hours a year, you are lighting approximately $1.5 million on fire annually. But you get to skip the TSA. Can you really put a price on not taking your shoes off? Yes, you can. It's $1.5 million a year. Now let's say you completely detach from reality. You don't want a jet, you want a flying apartment. You want to intimidate other billionaires. You want a Gulfstream G700 or a Bombardier Global 7500. These are the heavy hitters. They can fly from New York to Tokyo without stopping. They have beds, showers, and Wi-Fi faster than your house. The sticker price? $75 million to $80 million. At this level, you don't usually finance with a traditional 20-year loan because the depreciation curve is steeper than a cliff. You usually lease or you pay cash to park your equity. But if you did finance it, your monthly payment is roughly $500,000. But the purchase price is the cheap part. Filling the tank of a G700 costs roughly $25,000, a single fill-up. That's a Honda Civic every time you go to the gas station. The pilots? You need 3 or 4 of them on rotation because of crew rest rules. You need a flight attendant. You need a dedicated maintenance manager. Your fixed costs, just to have the plane sit on the ground and look pretty, are about $1.5 million a year. When you fly it, it costs roughly $8,000 to $10,000 per hour. So if you fly to London for lunch, that burger costs you $120,000. It better be a really good burger. Okay, you're saying, I don't have $75 million. I feel poor. Why am I watching this? Because there is a cheat code. This is how the middle-class millionaire actually flies private without going bankrupt. It's called fractional ownership, and it is the timeshare of the skies, but actually useful. Companies like NetJets or FlexJet allow you to buy a share of a plane. You buy 1/16th of a citation. You put down maybe $800,000 up front. Then you pay a monthly management fee of roughly $10,000, and you pay an hourly rate only when you are in the air. You don't worry about pilots calling in sick. You don't worry about a $50,000 tire blowing out. You just call them, and the plane shows up in 4 hours. Is it expensive? Yes, but it fixes your cost. You know exactly what you're spending. There are no surprise $200,000 maintenance bills. But let's get even scrappier. Let's say you want the champagne lifestyle on a beer budget. You need to learn about empty legs. When a billionaire charters a jet to fly from Miami to New York, that jet often has to fly back to Miami empty. The operator wants to recoup some money, so they sell that empty flight for pennies on the dollar. There are apps, and I'm not sponsored, I just love them, where you can snag a $30,000 flight for maybe $4,000. Now, $4,000 is still a lot of money, but if you split that with 6 friends, that's $600 a person. That is literally the price of a Delta ticket, but you are drinking champagne in leather seats and posting it on Instagram like you own the place. The catch? You have to be ready to leave tomorrow. And if the billionaire changes their mind and cancels their trip, your flight disappears. It's risky, but it's the ultimate fake it till you make it strategy. So what is the conclusion here? Is buying a private jet a good financial investment? Absolutely not. It is a depreciating asset that consumes fuel, requires highly skilled labor, and attracts lawsuits. From a purely Excel spreadsheet perspective, it is financial suicide. But personal finance is personal. If you can utilize the tax code, if your time is worth more than $5,000 an hour, or if you simply value the ability to show up to the airport 5 minutes before takeoff and never smell a Sbarro pizza again, then maybe, just maybe, the math works. Or you could just buy a really nice noise-canceling headset, sit in first class, and invest the other $74 million in the S&P 500. But that's a boring video, and nobody would watch it. Go check your couch cushions for that down payment, and I'll see you in the skies. Just remember to like and subscribe so I can fly with you.